So, the iPod Classic. If you clicked on this video, I'm sure you've probably already gone down the rabbit hole as to why people are using iPod Classics in 2025. You know, it doesn't give notifications. It's its own dedicated little music player, and you can mod the crap out of them as well. As you can see, we got USB-C here, a Taptic engine, obviously a bunch of custom colors on all the parts. It's got Rockbox installed, and this one even has Bluetooth. But yeah, once you get all these mods installed, you can actually end up spending a fair bit of money on your iPod, as well as a lot of these mods are semi-difficult to install as well. And yeah, these iPods, they're coming up on like 20 years old at this point. So I thought I'd go out and have a look at what other MP3 players are available today. And the one I ended up deciding on was this one, the Snowsky Echo Mini. Now this is not a particularly fancy MP3 player. It's not one of those ones running Android or anything like that, which there are a lot of those out there, but I think that sort of defeats the whole purpose, right? We get these devices because we want to simplify the music listening experience. We want to move away from the phone. And a lot of those Android-based, I think they're called DAPs, digital audio players, you know, it's basically a phone without a SIM card at that stage if it's running Android. So I was looking for something that's a little more simple, just a basic MP3 player that can also do Bluetooth. And yeah, I thought this one looked pretty good because it also has a very retro sort of aesthetic to it as well. So let's get this out of the box and we'll compare this to the iPod Classic and some of the other iPods as well, and we'll see if it's any good. Alright, let's get into it. So in terms of cost, I paid around 90 Australian for this thing. So in terms of USD, I'll put the price up on the screen here. But you can just get this off AliExpress, and it's not actually that much. It's like roughly the same price as an iFlash. So sure, you can get an iPod Classic cheaper than this used on eBay or something, but after you do all the mods, I think this ends up coming out to be a bit cheaper. So let's just get it open up right now, and I'll try opening it without actually scratching the packaging, so I can keep the box in good condition. I didn't watch any reviews of this thing either, so this is all going to be my first impressions. Alright, let's get this out of the box. Oh wow, it's a lot smaller than what I thought it was going to be, which is pretty cool because we want it to be compact, I guess. Let's see what other accessories are included. Alright, we've got a USB charging cable, USB-C obviously because it's 2025 now, little snack for later obviously, and oh no, this isn't the instruction manual. That would be this, the quick start guide, which surely has an English page on it somewhere. Alright, here's how we use it. Hold the power button for 3 seconds to turn it on. There we go. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is it an OLED screen or an LCD? I cannot tell. Let's select our language. I selected the wrong language, so I'm gonna have to figure this out. It's not a good start, is it? There we go, we got our English selected. Yeah, so this thing features both local storage and micro SD cards as well, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it's got built-in 8 gigs of memory and supports up to 256 gigs of storage, which is quite a bit of storage. Obviously, if you have more music than that, you can just have multiple micro SD cards as well, I guess. It's not as much as the modded iPod Classics can take. Of course, this one's only 128 gigabytes, but you could go all the way up to 1 terabyte in a Classic 7th gen. Yeah, whereas this is a bit less, but still, honestly, 256 gigabytes is more than enough for most people. So let's get some music loaded onto it. Before we do that, let's just take a look at it. So this thing, it is made out of plastic, if you couldn't tell. It seems pretty high quality in terms of the build and everything though. It's pretty light as well. It's saying on the product page that the battery should last around 15 hours, which is pretty good. It's obviously more than enough, but how that compares to an iPod Classic, once you get these things modded with an iFlash and a 2 or a 3000 milliamp hour battery, these things can last up to 100 hours honestly. So yeah, this thing's battery life isn't as good as a fully modded iPod Classic, but still 15 hours is plenty. Yeah, so here's our headphone jack port for our 3.5mm headphone jack, and then this one's also a 4.4mm headphone jack port, which is probably some superior standard for audiophile headphones or something. I've never actually seen it before. And yeah, let's get this thing plugged in and get some music loaded onto it. So that's what it says when it's plugged straight into the computer. USB connected. Do not disconnect the connection. Yeah, so here's how it comes up in Windows. Just as its own little thing in File Explorer. click on that, and let's copy in some music right now. And as you can see, the transfer speeds are pretty fast. Oh, that's not as fast as last time. It got up to 100 on the last thing. Try some more. Yeah, so it looks like it's averaging around 8 megabytes per second transfer speeds, which is alright. Not the fastest thing in the world, but it's definitely good enough. So to play our music, what happens if we just click the play button? Does it just start? All songs. Let me plug this in and figure this out. Alright, so that's how you change the volume. Yeah, I don't think this is a touch screen. You gotta control it with the buttons. How do I go to the next song? That's what I want to know. Do you have to select them manually? Is there no way to just skip on this menu? What if you like hold this? Let me read the manual. Apparently you hold the volume button to switch to the next song. Ah, there you go. Yeah, and this thing can play a range of formats. FLAC, AAC, MP3 as you see coming up on the screen here. Yeah, so you just click these once to change the volume, and then the next track is just holding it. How do we go back to the menu? Just a return button. Alright, file browser. Yeah, and then we could also just browse the files like that. We can select our SD card or the built-in storage. Let's try this one. Alright, let's see if this worked. Alright, there we go. Yeah, so the 512 gigabyte card didn't work. It's unable to initialize on this screen or whatever. Let's play something off of our micro SD card. Actually, let me plug in my good headphones and I'll test the sound quality. Here's my Audio-Technica ATH M50s, which are pushing 10 years old at this point and are in pretty not nice condition, but let's plug these in. That's cool as well. You can keep the screen off if you click this button, and the music still plays, but you don't have the screen on. I'm no audiophile, but this thing sounds really good. I would say this thing probably sounds better than an iPod, to be honest. I'll have to compare them side by side, but my initial impression is this thing sounds amazing. Maybe just I haven't used my headphones in a long time, but the sound on this thing is very nice. I'm sure there's some people who know a lot more about audio stuff than I do who might have something to say about that and will give reasons why some $1,000 player is better. But if you're just a normal guy, this thing sounds very nice. It seems to get pretty loud as well. I remember my phone with these ATH M50s, you'd get it up near the max volume, honestly. But what are we on now? We're on 68, and it's pretty loud for me at the moment. But let's see what happens if we just crank it all the way to the max. Does it turn my headphones into speakers? So yeah, it gets pretty loud. These controls are taking a little bit of getting used to though, honestly. I'd say the click wheel on the iPod Classic is a lot nicer than these controls, but once you get used to them, I'm sure it'll be fine. Alright, let's go back to our home screen, which you do just by clicking the back button a bunch of times. What else have we got on here? Music settings, file browser. I wonder if you can watch videos on this thing. I'm pretty sure you can't, but that'd be funny if you could. Alright, now we've tried with our wired headphones, let's try our wireless. Now we got the KZ A09s here. Let's see how we pair these things. So how do we do this? Let's go to our system settings, Bluetooth, search devices. Please open Bluetooth. What does that mean? Oh, we got to turn it on here. What is going on? Scanning. Oh, here we go. A09. Work. Hey, there we go. It's connected now. Alright, let's see if this works. I think you have to switch the media library between the flash card and the built-in storage. I don't think all the songs will show up all at once. Let's have a look in here. So as you can see, the Bluetooth works. Yeah, so from what I can find online, this Bluetooth player only supports the SBC Bluetooth codec, if what I'm reading online is true, which for me that doesn't matter because these are SBC earphones as well. But if you're more of an audiophile, you would probably want to look for a device with aptX. Yeah, but the Bluetooth mod I do in the iPod Classics as well is also only supports SBC. You can put a Bluetooth transmitter in here that supports aptX as well if you really wanted to, but you'd be losing quality anyways from the fact that you're taking an analog signal and converting it to digital. So I just think you're defeating half of the benefit by doing that anyways. Yeah, but anyways, let me go through the menu and see if we can find any more little features or hidden things in this thing. This has been pretty cool so far. It's a very light device as well. Definitely is lighter than the iPod Classic. Let's do a size comparison here. As you can see, it's thicker by quite a bit. This is a slim iPod Classic, if you're wondering. Let me get out a thick one. Alright, and here's our thicker iPod Classic. It's a 5th gen as well, and we'll compare these next to each other. Yeah, so in terms of thickness, it's about the same size as a thick iPod Classic 5th gen. We can get one of these things out if you're wondering as well. Dimensions wise, measure from the highest point. 14.4 millimeters thick, about 80 millimeters in terms of width, and the height 54.5 millimeters. So that's it next to an iPod sideways. So it is a bit smaller than an iPod Classic. Now let me just go through the settings menu here and see if we can find anything interesting. Screen settings, brightness, we can go a bit higher if we wanted to. That hasn't made much of a difference, to be honest. I think I'd just leave it on 4. There's not that big of a difference between brightness settings. Shutdown settings, date and time, interface style. What is that? Oh, you can change it to white. Oh, honestly, the white kind of matches the blue version a lot better. Let's see if we got any other settings in here. Information. And that's all the information you get. You can format the SD card from the device itself. It's a pretty interesting little device here. Alright, so let's get into the comparison between a fully modded iPod Classic and this little thing. In terms of features and stuff, obviously the iPod Classic isn't just a music player. You can also play video on the iPod Classic, which you cannot on this thing. Not that you would probably want to, and not that many people do. Most people want their iPod basically just for music. I know some people watch videos on them, but let's be honest, there are much better devices for watching videos on. But yeah, this thing has built-in Bluetooth, which is very nice. Obviously, this thing has Bluetooth as well since we've heavily modded it. But, you know, if you want to just pick up one device that already has all the features straight off the shelf, this thing's a solid option. In terms of storage, iPod Classic 7th gens can get up to 1 terabyte of built-in micro SD cards. Actually, you can go up to 2 terabyte, but for a lot of reasons, 1 terabyte's a more practical sort of limit. Yeah, whereas this thing, it has 8 gigs of built-in storage, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but then you got the micro SD card on the side of the iPod up to 256 gigabytes. So if you had more music than 256 gigs, you could always just simply take this thing out and put in another card. So that's pretty convenient. In terms of the quality of both the outputs, both of these sound just fine. I thought this thing sounded pretty good though when I tested it out. They sound a bit different, but if you're just a normal person, the only way you're going to be able to tell any difference in sound is if you're listening to them side by side anyways, and then it just doesn't even matter. So I'm sure some audiophile nerd would have more to say about how they sound than I do, but in my opinion, both these things sound fine when it comes to listening with the wired earphones. Although when it comes to Bluetooth, this thing would probably have a slight edge because the Bluetooth is built in on this thing, whereas the iPod, it's you're wiring something up to the headphone jack, which means that the audio is already in analog and then it's converted back to digital to go through the Bluetooth, and you could obviously get some quality loss or some background noise picked up along in that process, which you wouldn't get with a device like this that has Bluetooth built in. So yeah, if I had to give my opinion on what's better for an MP3 player strictly for Bluetooth, might actually be better off getting a device like this compared to Bluetooth modding an iPod Classic. But you know, that's not the reason people mod iPod Classics, to be honest. It's more about the cool factor with this than this thing. You know, this is a nostalgic device that we've been using for like 20 years now. You know, people have memories with this thing. People love this thing. If you whip this out, people are going to be like, dude, I didn't know the iPod Classic came in blue and black. How does it have USB-C? How does it have Bluetooth? This is just a more mind-blowing device, having a fully modded iPod Classic compared to a modern MP3 player. And it's an Apple device. People just love Apple. Or some people do. I'm more of an Android Windows type guy, but I think the Apple magic shines through on the iPods a little bit more. Alright. Next, in terms of controls, I know I've just got this thing out of the box, so I'm sure you could get more used to the controls over time. but the click wheel on this thing and the way the menus are on the iPods, I find much easier to navigate. Again, whatever device you go with, over time you're going to get used to it obviously, but I find this whole click wheel thing a lot more intuitive. Neither of them have a touch screen, it's all just buttons and stuff, but in terms of how they look, I think both of these actually look pretty nice. So yeah, this thing is a more plasticky thing, whereas the iPod Classic 6 and 7th gens are made out of metal, so I guess that's more premium of a build. But this thing looks very nice, don't doubt the looks of this thing. Yeah, this thing obviously, it's got built-in USB-C. This specific iPod Classic I have done a USB-C mod on, although that's a very difficult mod, and realistically you're probably not going to put USB-C on your iPod Classic. It's not the most practical mod, since you lose firewire charging, and it's the skill level required to pull off a USB-C mod on an iPod Classic 5th, 6th or 7th gen is very high, so you're probably going to have to send it in to somebody to get that done. I'm not offering that as of yet, but at some stage in the future I might do a USB-C mail-in repair option. So what else is there to really compare about these things? Both of these are offline music players. You can't do your Spotify or anything on these. You need to get MP3s and put them on. Oh yeah, probably the last thing to compare is price. So this thing cost me 90 Australian dollars, which is cheaper than a fully modded iPod Classic. Of course, as I said earlier, you can get an iPod Classic used. If you get a deal, you could probably get them for like 20 bucks, probably up to 100 depending where you buy them. I've seen people list 7th gen iPod Classics for like nearly 200 bucks on eBay. I'd never pay that much, but if you get a deal on them, 20 bucks. But then once you start modding it, like the iFlash is pretty expensive. That'll set you back like, I think it's 42 USD for the iFlash quad. Then you get some SD cards. If you want a terabyte, that's like another 100 bucks. Then if you want Bluetooth, you can do the Bluetooth mod yourself, which is pretty difficult. Or you could buy like my Bluetooth mod upgrade kit. And there's a couple other ways you can get Bluetooth in them as well. You could just get a dongle, obviously, 3.5mm external dongle. Yeah, and then you're going to want a bigger battery, and then you'll probably want to change out the faceplate and all that stuff. After you do all that, you've sunk quite a bit of money into this thing. Whereas this thing, it already looks good, it's already got all the functionality built in, and if you want more storage, you just chuck in a micro SD card. So in terms of price, and in terms of maybe simplicity, this is a product you can just buy, and it's already got all the features, and it's already good to go. Whereas if you want to get an iPod and mod the crap out of it, like I like to do, then that's a bit of effort and a bit of money and a bit of time. But honestly, that's half the fun with these iPod Classics, isn't it? I don't think these things would be hardly as popular in 2025 if it wasn't like a little project that you could, you know, upgrade and mod and turn into something like this. So do I think you should buy something like this or get an iPod Classic? It really depends on your needs and your wants, and whether you think this is cool or whether you think this is cool. I think both of them are pretty cool. Am I gonna give up iPod Classics and switch to these things? You know, probably not. But this thing is pretty nice. If you were looking for an iPod Classic alternative in 2025, I'd definitely recommend picking this thing up. Especially if you can't be stuffed with modding and everything and you just want an MP3 player that does Bluetooth built in. This little thing will give you all the benefits of the iPod Classic in one simple little product. Apart from playing videos, I guess. But yeah, if that's you, if that's what you're after, this thing gets a recommendation from me at least. So if you want to check this thing out, I'll have links to buy it in the description. You can get it off of AliExpress. Alright, so I've been using this thing for about a week now, so I thought I'd give a little bit of an update on how it's been going. I've just been taking this thing to the gym, which I think it's been really good for that actually, since it's extremely light player. It's about half the weight of the iPod. I think it was 45 grams when I measured it. So you really don't notice it in your pocket at all. I know with phones, sometimes if you're running and stuff, you can feel your phone like bobbing around in the pocket. But with this thing, it's just way too light. You don't even notice that it's there. So if you find that that's a bit of an issue, a device like this could be a good fix to that. Another thing I will say is these buttons at first, I didn't really like them. But ever since I've gotten used to using it, I kind of prefer these, honestly, to the click wheel. Because with the click wheel, you can't adjust the volume while it's in your pocket. But with this, you can just click it like that while you're running or whatever. You don't have to turn the screen on. And You can just change your volume up and down, so that's pretty convenient. Yeah, but another thing that I don't really like about it is pairing your Bluetooth headphones can be a bit of a pain. I don't know, just sometimes it doesn't want to pick them up. Yeah, and it can take like 5 minutes just to get your earphones paired, which is even worse than the Bluetooth modded iPod Classic that I have, which a lot of people are worried about. How do you pair your headphones because it doesn't have a UI? But I'm finding that this is easier to pair than this, even though you do select it from within a screen. So, oh well. Yeah, but overall, I think I'm going to keep using this one for my gym sessions, because I just think this is a better device for that than an iPod Classic. But it's made me interested in the smaller form factor iPods, so I think I'm going to have a go at adding Bluetooth to some of the iPod Nanos again, and see if we can come up with something that's a bit more lightweight and more appropriate for the gym. Yeah, but anyways, thanks for watching this video. Comment below what device you would prefer to use. Are you more into buying a used iPod Classic on the cheap and modding the crap out of it? Or are you more into picking up a simple MP3 player that already has all the functionality built in? I think based on the fact that this is an iPod channel, a lot of people are going to say iPod Classic. But, you know, whatever floats your boat, whatever's your cup of tea, comment below. So if you like this video, give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, check out my website. If you've got an old iPod Classic that you want to send in to get fully upgraded like this, or if you've got an iPod Nano that you want the battery replaced on, I do battery replacements on 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th gens, pretty much every iPod. Every iPod you can think of, I can fix it and get it up and running again for you. So check out my website there if you want to get parts as well. If you want to add Bluetooth to your iPod Classic, I sell these Bluetooth upgrade kits. So you can just pop the back off your old iPod Classic 5th, 6th or 7th gen, pop that one on, and boom, it's got Bluetooth just like this. Yeah, but anyways, thanks for watching this video. Hope to see you next time, and bye.